Hey guys, and welcome to another First Impressions video, the video game series in which we look at a recently released game and I give you my first thoughts and impressions on it. Today's video is going to be a little bit different. We're looking at efootball 2023, which was formerly PES Soccer or Pro Evolution Soccer. It's made this transition into a free-to-play game and they've changed their name, but it's essentially still the same game, only on a free-to-play model, which is awful by the way, but we will get into that. As always, we'll look at the options first, and then we'll jump into the game and look at the many different sort of things that they have on offer before we actually get into the gameplay at the end. This is going to be a very long video, and I'm going to apologize for that before we get in. However, everything will be chaptered in that description down below, so if you want to just see the gameplay or a specific thing or item that is going to be discussed here, it will be clearly labeled in that description box. Also, I would like to just point out that Konami did give me 12,000 of the premium currency, which is about $90 or £90 value. So I will be using that to demonstrate and show off how bad the free-to-play system actually is. Before anything else, though, we'll get into the settings and show you what settings are available. It is woeful, though. So without any further ado, let's jump into it. Alright, so your settings was actually very, very, very difficult to find. And it's in the extras section at the top. Why they've called it extras instead of just options or settings, I don't know. But this is where you can get your help, you can get your training, you can contact support if you need to, look at user information and go into your actual game settings themselves. Honestly, the only one I'm going to show you here, because I don't know what personal information it will show in any of the other options except for maybe training, is the game settings. That's the thing that's most important. Honestly, terrible options menu. Screen settings, match screen, that's what you get. Just you know, typical, whether you want certain things on or off. Display quality as high. Custom, you can go into it a bit more. You've got motion blur on or off, bloom, ambient occlusion high, shadows high, post-processing on, lens simulation, effects, cloth simulation, pitch side, turf, goal net, and spectators. But there's no real settings. It's really weird. You do your display settings before you jump into the game. So that's where you set your resolution and whether you want it full screen or not. And then you just get your display quality with random options switched on or off, and then your brightness. Your controller settings, you've got config 1, config 2, config 3, config 4, config 5, pretty standard, and vibration on or off. Your audio settings, you've got the soundtrack, so you can just see all the music. Honestly, kind of lackluster here. Or you've got your audio settings here, so you've got default, from the stands, all the other things, and they look like no, I thought there were going to be some more. You've got to go into custom in order to change the volumes. Now it is all set at 7, which is nice to see, but I don't know why you've got to go through custom on each of these items to actually change anything how you would like it. Then you've got your language settings, text language and commentary language, and your camera, so you can turn different cameras on and do all the different settings there. Not a great menu. It's awkward to go through. There's a lot of back and forth, and again, can't use your mouse in this game at all. But yeah, so there's your options. Let's look into contracts and how awful they are. Okay, so first major bugbear that I forgot to mention in the introduction is that if you don't have a controller plugged in, or if you've got your controller plugged in, you get no mouse. No mouse and keyboard support at all, except for when you have to type things, in which case that's completely okay. Other than that, you have to use your keyboard to, you know, select each one, or you've got to use your controller. No mouse support in the menus. It's 2022. This is a game that boasts that it's 2023 ready because of the season. Nothing. Like, the more I play this game, the more I hate it. It just lacks so much. So that aside, what is contract? Well, you can buy pretty much anything you want. You can buy a manager, you can buy a standard player, or you can buy your special players. So a manager list is literally just that. It is a bunch of managers that you can pay for. As you can see, I've got 31,000 in-game currency because I've only just started. I did have 110,000, but I purchased a player just to see how it all worked. You can sort them by price, procession, quick counter, long ball, whichever tactic you want to go to, or you can filter them and take out certain regencies, price, etc. And they're all here. They're all different prices for a manager. Some seem to have photos, others don't. I'm assuming the ones that don't are just made up, whereas the ones that have photos, I'm assuming are realistic or something along those lines. And they will give you and your team a buff per one, so you can click on one and you can see their possession, their age, what sort of game and stuff they play for. On top of that, you have your standard player list. Again, this is using in-game currency. So already you can see if you want some really good players, you're going to be paying 1.1 million. That's a lot. That's a lot of in-game currency to try and grind out. And again, first starting outside of my standardized team that I just kind of threw together to see what it was all going, which was a really long process, by the way. I couldn't buy any of these. I had to settle for someone who was at the second 100 page of things because I didn't filter it out. So they've got a lot of players, which is nice. But to get to something that you're going to use, like we were down here, and they're just going to get worse if you want to try and build a team that's better than the 40s that you've got. Or you can use your in-game currency, your premium currency, the currency that you have to pay for. And this is where it gets really, really fucking scummy. So you've got these special events here, but the ones that you can straight up just go for, you've got a number of packs that you can get per week. And then you can click on it here if you press the right button. So we're going to go with this. As you can see, I've already used one. And you're like, okay, 100 for 3 players. That seems pretty legit. It's not. It's loot boxes on top of a premium currency. So you're paying real money to get some decent, like, players. But then you spend 100 and you sign a player and it's going to be one of those 3. And you don't know which one it's going to be. Like, it is scummy the way they've done this. Why would you get premium currency to then get a random sort of pack, right? Like, it's just horrible. And they do this big sort of cinematic with everyone you buy. You can skip it, thankfully, but it's just horrible. Like, yeah, and then you've signed him and you've got him and you're away. Well, hey. Again, 100 coins, we'll get into the shop later on, but 100 coins is basically £1. So you spend £1 to get one of these guys. Just one. Or you can go here and you can get one of the FC Bayern Munich, like, classic players. Again, you can spend and you can sign, and then you get something random. And that's how you sign players. You either have to sit and grind upon grind upon grind, probably losing upon losing upon losing, to get the coins together that you need to get a paid premium player who may be great, who may also not be great at all. It's just horrible. I hate this system so very much because it's just predatory and not good. Like, at least with other free-to-play models that do this sort of thing, you get more than a single character. I think that's what really rubs it wrong. Like, you've got an even chance of getting anything, but you only get one player for that 100 coins. And again, to get the 12k pack, which I've got, is £90. That's a lot of money to spend for not a lot of return. So that's your contracts. What do you do once you've spent God knows how much time or money on this to get the players that you want. What do you do with them? How does it work? Where do you go from here? So let's have a look. Okay, so once you've spent God knows how much on your players, what do you do with them? Well, you go into your My Team button. You have a different display that you can use. You can toggle between that one or that one. And then you can select them and you can do a number of things. So if we choose Mr. Danny Ceballos here, 72 central midfielder, you can select them. And once you've selected them, you can see their stats and the player actions that you can then do. So you have to play with them in order to level them up, because of course once you've bought this player, you're not finished with them. You have to make them better, because of course you do. So you can see where they're not doing amazing. You can see where they're doing very, very good. You can see the sort of position that they play in. You can go to player actions and you can go to level training. You will need points in order to do this, and as you can see, it requires a certain amount of XP per one. So if you want to level that one, it takes 10,000, 4,000, 1,000 and 100. Once you've done that, you can then go back into player progression and you can see the stats and you can see their proficiency and you can see the changes that each of these sort of things that you're going to make. And this is where you go to use your points. If you don't use your points here, then it will discard any changes you've made and you're back to square one. Really not a good system of doing it. It's very confusing to start with, especially since each thing that you want to do, you have to come back into this screen and go through it all. You can then look at contract renewal. Apparently, these are rented players, so you don't even get to keep them. This just gets worse. So what I'm wondering is, on the contract renewal, whether I'm going to have to use in-game currency or premium currency to keep them in contract. So it's already cost me 100 premium currency, real money currency, to get this player for 60 days. I was under the impression that they were yours to keep, but they're rented. Oh my god. Lock and release. So you can release them from the contract and you can lock them in as well. That's awful. That is not good. Oh my word. Right, so that's what you can do in this screen. Let's look at team management and see how you can slot them in and which way it works and how you're going to really make your team viable early game to mid game to late game. Alright, this is more of a standardized screen that you're probably used to seeing if you're playing football games. This is your game plan or team management sort of screen that you're used to. As you can see, you've got your formation here, you have your players and where they are, and you see their stats and how strong they are per each one. So you've got your player and their overall stats, which is 60, but then in this team it goes down to 46, and I'm assuming it uses a similar system of chemistry that FIFA uses in order to make the team work better as a whole. And then if you want to switch any of them out, you simply select a player there, go to reserves, and you can see who you've got in your reserves here. Or you can go to your substitutes and see who you've got available for substitution. Any players that you get, any of these players that apparently are rented, they go to your reserves first. So as you can see, we've got a Rabiot here and Danny Ceballos here. So if we want to take a centre midfielder, we will take probably W. Hickley, go to reserves, and we will put him in there. Now, it does come up with a star to show that they're going to be better suited for that role. But that's generally the way that you would play it there. Look, so you see we've changed them there. We've got DMF, defensive midfielder, etc. And then you can go to team playstyle and you can see the different info there and all the different things. Then you've got tactics, which means you can change your manager. If you've got a different manager, you can change formation. And they've got all the different formations down here, which will show you whether they're going to be better off, worse off, how they're going to play, etc. And you'll see that the stats on each of these players change as they go. Team play style, so you can choose which sort of style that people want to go. Again, you're going to want to look at each of the players to see what their strengths are as to whether you want to go for a different play style or just stick with the thing. Then you've got your Individual, so you can tell them whether you want them to attack more aggressively or be more defensive. And then you've got sub-tactics as well, so you can edit their position, team play style, and individual instructions on the fly. So again, nothing too crazy here, pretty much as standard. It would be nice if switching players from reserve to substitution and stuff was a bit easier and less finicky and a ball ache, especially since I can't use my mouse. But overall, pretty standard, nothing exciting here really. This is just where you kind of go in before a game or whatever to make sure that you get everything sorted. Let's look at the next option available. We're going to look at the mission-oriented things now, and we'll see how that sort of works. Alright then, missions. Now, these are pretty much self-explanatory. There are objectives in the game which you can use to obtain rewards. Generally speaking, your normal objectives will give you in-game currency, so you can get your standardized players and stuff. But you've also got this, premium objectives. Because if you thought that spending money on a character for 60 days wasn't bad enough, you can also spend a lot of coins to get these objectives, which will get you loot boxes for different champions that are available and stuff, or different players that you... Honestly, it doesn't stop, and it's terrifying, and it's just awful. So 900 coins will get me this. Just purchase. Okay, cool. Why not? So this gives me these people. They're not objectives. It's just buy these and you'll get them. It's not an objective. Game. This should be in the shop. This isn't an objective. That's not an objective completed. Buying, just buying them outright is not an objective. I thought it was going to be a challenge to get something or something, but it's not. You just spend 900 and get those players. I'm flabbergasted. I'm flabbergasted. Right, okay. So that's what your premium currency can get you. You can just buy a team as an objective. That is predatory as fuck. Do you know, right, this is a first impression, so I have a quick look around, I get a feel for the game, and then I make these videos. And every now and again, when I'm making these videos, I will come across things that I didn't know about whilst recording, and I just keep it in because it's natural and that's what happens. But this is egregious. I thought just buying loot boxes was bad enough, but these premium objectives, they're not objectives, game. I thought it was going to be getting extra challenges and stuff, not just buying a team. That's awful. Okay, so we're going to look at actual objectives, because these are things that you actually have to do in game. So you got career objectives and you got campaign objectives, right? I don't really know the difference between the two because I haven't seen a campaign mode as yet. I've seen events, but there's not much difference between campaign and career. But anyway, so as you can see, number of players signed, you spend that and you'll get 5,000 of the in-game currency. Again, you need at least 110,000 to get a semi-decent player. You can then get 200 eFootball points because you've got a number of players signed. So I assume that means that you get some of these premium currency back. I don't know. It's another currency that's just there. And then you've got all these things so you can link your data with Konami. Wouldn't advise doing that. You've got total matches, tour events, dream team. You know, you've got different things that you can do. These are actually objectives that you can do to earn a little bit of in-game cash. And that's the objectives. Let's look at the shop, because apparently this game is nothing but a shop, but it's got its own shop section. Alright then, the shop. And there is more than meets the eye to the shop. You have eFootball points, which were those things that I got from doing one of the objectives, an actual objective earlier, which you can then exchange for items and or players. So you can just get your actual players themselves from grinding out these eFootball points as sort of a midway between normal currency and premium currency because they've got to keep you playing somehow. And then your eFootball coins. We're going to look at the eFootball coins first because it's the most simple. And you can see the prices that they're charging for these coins for you to rent players for 60 days. If it decides to load. There it is. So, the prices, they're not great. The idea is that the more you buy, the more you get. Apparently, of this horrible currency. So if you buy straight up 100, which will get you one pack or one character out of those loot boxes, is 89p. Then goes up to 449 for 520, which apparently gives you 15 free. Then you can get 1000 for 899, 2000 for 1799. As you can see, the extra that you get is always a little bit more as it scales. 25 quid will get you 3,300. 50 quid will get you 5,500, and then the maximum you can buy in one go is 12,000 coins for 89.99. Why you would do this is beyond me, but there you go. It's a free-to-play game, free-to-play currency. It's very expensive for very little, in my opinion. Outside of that, like I said, you can redeem these eFootball points, which is sort of like a semi-pro or semi-premium currency you can exchange for players and you can exchange for items. The players are all 5,000 and there are only one available and they're on a rotating sort of roster. So you've only got 81 days or 151 days or 18 days or whatever it is to get them. They are 5,000 e-points to exchange for a single player. And I've got 200 from already spending coins to sign a certain amount of players to my team. So depending on how bad those objectives get and how grindy, you're going to be at it for a long time. But it's okay because Philip Scholes is in the shop for 151 days and 8 hours. So that's the time pressure you've got if you want that one player. Items that you can get, because of course you can. These are even more expensive. So 25,000 e-points to get a contract renewal. 4,000 XP training program is 5,000. Or 100 XP training program for 125. Which we could get. And again, only 10 of those until they respawn for something else. This is just some next level crap, isn't it? That's a lot of grinding just to get one character, one player to renew for another 60 days. I am flabbergasted by the audacity of this game. Alright, that's the shop. Let's look at the next thing. Okay, so actual gameplay. We're actually going to get in and play some football. You have a number of things that you can do. You've got your eFootball League, which is PvP matches to go into a division. But again, this game's been out for a while, even though it's got new season lists, which means you're going to be against players, if you're new, that are just going to outmatch you. It's just going to happen. It's very much a pay-to-win game, this. You go in, you're just going to get absolutely mullered. Same with online match. However, what you can do is you can play the events. Now, these are against the AI. I don't know how fair or unfair the AI is. We're going to have a look. Also, can I just say how awful it is that it takes so long for these graphics to load in and render? Like, it does. It takes way too long. So you've got different events and tournaments and stuff that end in a certain amount of time, and you will get XP and different things like that. So this one, the European Championship, has a special on at the minute for XP times 3. That screen is horrible. Why did they choose this? Why did they choose this as their... Why? Why does it take that long to render? Okay, fine. Enter. And here we are. So we've got top players from previous match, your match history, to match. You can go into match settings here as well. I don't know why it's searching for an opponent. Why does it have to search for an opponent when it's AI? Surely it should load up. Everything about this game gives me a headache. Everything gives me a headache. But here we are. We're in the game. You've got your team and everything that you go in. You've got a lot of cinematics, as you normally do with these sorts of games. They like to be very cinematic and very real life and stuff. You've got your game plan that you can go to if you want to change it. Again, more cinematics. And then we boost into the game. I'm going to skip all that nonsense. Honestly, the graphics aren't great. I would expect better from a game in 2023, especially with how much money I expect they're probably making already from the free-to-play model. Like, the textures are bad, the arms are very square, like, close up, they don't look very good at all. You know, this is something that I would expect in mid-2000s, you know, from 2010 all the way up to maybe 2018 tops. It's come a long way. Like, the hair and stuff, it looks awful. Lazy is what I would say. It looks lazy. But anyway, we're in the game. And it's going to come up with all these wonderful things. And there you go, we're in. Like I say, this game plays like pretty much every other football game I've ever played before. Passing doesn't seem to work that great, but what you're going to do. You've got to get used to how the change works and stuff, but honestly, goal. Dead easy. The AI is never going to be super hard to beat. But that's the game. It plays like every other football game known to man. You've got passes, dribbles, you've got, I'm sure, specials. The way your team works together is going to be key and fundamental. You can switch your players as you run. You've got soft tackle, hard tackle. Keeping an eye on everybody is a problem. And you basically, from what I've seen from a lot of these games, is you're going to want to basically play the same way you go every time. You through ball through the opposition. This won't work against PvP, but you through ball through the opposition and then just shoot from close up where the keeper can't do anything. Doesn't seem to be too harsh. The AI difficulty doesn't seem to be too major. But it's a football game. I don't really know what else to say. Like, outside of all the other bullshit, it's a football game. And if it was more of this and just a bog standard sort of career mode that you get with other games, I would probably like it a lot more. But the whole like FIFA Ultimate Team take on, which is already pretty egregious anyway, ruins it for me. I wouldn't want to spend too much time playing this because the progression is purely and simply all about as much money as it can glean from people. I mean, we're 11 minutes in and we're 3-0 up. I'm not going to complain. I'm not going to complain. So there you go. Let me know in the comments down below. I know there's not a lot of sort of gameplay footage, but again, like there's not really much to say on the gameplay because it's the same as every other football game I think I've ever played. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't do anything amazingly new, and all the other features needed talking about, especially the god-awful pay-to-win sort of feature that they've got going on here. So yeah, let me know in those comments down below what you think. Let me know if it's a game that you would pick up. It is free to play technically, so, you know, there's that. Whether it's any good or not, though, that is definitely up for debate. But against the AI for this event, I don't think we're doing too bad. Thank you very much for watching, guys, and I hope to see you all next time. Ciao, ciao.